Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev. He is Doug. This week, we are talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. Yes, that is the name. Don't know why they needed to add a Star Wars story to the end of it, but they did. Anyway, this movie came out in 2018. It is Han's, origin story. The little synopsis from IMDb is, during an adventure in the criminal underworld, Han Solo meets his future co-pilot Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian years before joining the Rebel Alliance, is all we get. So, Doug, I watched this. I had never seen this movie before. I watched it yesterday, which we're recording this Friday, so several days before this comes out. But let's start. What did you think of this movie? Because I had never seen it before. You said you had seen it once or twice before, but you watched it again today, or finished it again today.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
Well, yeah, you're right. I saw it at the theater. This is only the second time I watched it. I wrote at the top of my notes,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a bad movie, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not a great movie either.
Okay. That's kind
Um,
of how I
it,
felt,
it, it,
so.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I think, good ideas. In all honesty, thought it could have been a great movie. I just think there was a lot of good ideas, good concepts. The supporting cast, I thought, stole the show, especially Donald Glover as
Mm-hmm.
a young Lando.
Yeah.
I thought, I think it's Paul, is it Bettany? Um,
Yeah, Paul Bettany
and
has
then
Dryden Voss. Yeah.
yeah, and the girl who did the voice for L3, and of course Woody Harrelson, he was great and everything. So unfortunately, the cast was great. It was just the supporting cast to me was the best part of it.
Yeah.
Emily Clarke is fine, but I'm never going to see her as anything but the Mother of Dragons from Game of Thrones.
I get that.
I couldn't get past some of that, and that's more of a me issue. I don't know that her acting was bad. I just didn't ever really buy the romance. I mean, I read a couple little reviews afterwards, and they thought, oh, she played good, bad, and all this and that. I just didn't feel that, but overall, I mean, it was basically. I think I wrote down something else. It's a fun escape into a galaxy I love,
Yeah.
is what I really came out of feeling it and stuff. I don't know that the movie really need made in the first place, but um, overall, I enjoyed it. I mean, I really did. I thought they killed off a couple of really good characters way too early on the
Mm-hmm.
train scene.
Yeah.
I thought they could have done a little bit better with that. And the train scene was great with the
Yeah.
magnetic boots. I loved how they had the train adjust to the slopes of the mountain and everything. But, there was a lot of other things that left more to be, you know, I don't know. No movie's perfect. So there was just some things that I wish they would have done different. But overall, it wasn't that bad. So,
I'm not surprised that they got the Kessel Run in there, which didn't surprise me at all, but I didn't expect it because, again, I haven't ever seen this, so didn't
mhm.
really expect to see that. So he always talks about, you've heard him talk about that several times in the other movies, so doesn't surprise me that they got that in there somewhere. Um,
Yeah, but I
the
had a problem with that.
You did have a problem with that?
Well, because in A New Hope,
Uh-huh.
everyone thought it was a measure of time.
Yeah, I read something about that.
It's actually a measure of distance.
Yeah.
So did Lucas screw up and
No.
not was there no continuity because he said in A New Hope I made it in under 12 parsecs. Okay, well, it's actually in the movie he says, well, if you round down it's 12, but everything led you to believe that it
Yeah.
was a time thing. This made it, this basically said, no, it's a distance thing. So did you catch that? Did you have an issue with that? Because I had a big issue with that.
Yeah, I Apparently, a lot of people did. I read that in the trivia that there was a lot of people that had that issue, and they had to work around that, I guess. So they did some finagling, I guess, with the way that it's done to make it be that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is because it is a certain it is a supposed to be a time thing, I think, but they did something with the way that there's like a path that would take you that long to go that direction, but the way that he did it, they said would have been faster or something like that. It was something weird. I don't remember all of it, but something along those
Yeah.
lines. So,
That was just one of those little things that I was saying. It's not a bad movie. They just left a lot to be desired on
mhm.
some of that stuff, the continuity on a couple little things. And of course, I knew that Darth Maul was not dead. No
Yeah,
spoilers here.
I didn't.
But I didn't know you did not. You've not
No.
watched, like we talked last week, the Clone Wars, the animated one that I was talking about, in my opinion, could have been a standalone movie.
Yeah.
Well, you quickly find out that he is basically running, Crimson Dawn. So, yeah, I wondered how you were going to react to that.
I saw him and I was like, "Huh." I wasn't so I was going to ask you about that cuz I was like, "Okay, so is this another person? Is this a
Same one.
species or
Same one.
is this Darth Maul?"
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Darth Maul. They never really explain how he survived, other than the dark forces are so powerful that they kept him alive. I
Okay.
mean, honestly,
We're
there's
going
not
to
a whole lot
we'll
of,
get into that a little
yeah,
later too, but yeah.
yeah,
Cuz
more or less. That
yeah,
that was kind of the explanation of how you can be
basically live forever.
cut right in half and still survive. Yeah,
Okay. That's
yeah,
yeah, I saw him at the end when she talks to him and I'm like, "What? Okay?"
yeah,
Because
yeah,
he's like sitting there with his hood on, and I'm like, okay, this is like a Sith guy, and I figured out that it was the Crimson Dawn thing, is what I figured it was, because that's what
yeah,
they were talking about. And then all of a sudden he takes down his hood, and I'm like, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
um, that doesn't
yeah.
seem right. And then I was wondering, like, is this the same? Like, is the timeline different? Like, I was trying to figure out if the timeline was that time, like if he would have been like. I was like, no, he like Han is younger than Anakin, like, so it wouldn't be, like Darth Maul would have died when Anakin was a kid, and Han's younger than Anakin. So I was trying to figure out what was going on, but yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that didn't make any sense to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was okay,
There's
interesting.
there's a lot of continuity, and like I said, if you do go back and watch Clone Wars, he has a big part. I mean,
Okay,
he at that by that time basically becomes a Sith Lord type, and
okay,
he's running that. So yeah, they do they do the best job they can in the Clone Wars to explain it, but really it's just the dark forces are so powerful, and he is such a powerful part of it
uh huh.
that kind of, yeah, somehow he survives more or less. I mean,
That's
I'm not going to do
you
it
know
justice to try to explain it all.
that's
So
fine. I know that
yeah,
that's how it works because I've seen all most of these except for this one. This is the only movie, and I guess the animated Clone Wars movie is the only ones that I haven't seen.
yeah,
I wish they would have explained it a little more in here because him just popping up all of a sudden with 45 seconds left in the movie confused the crap out of me. So, it was just
yeah.
a surprise, especially at the very end. You know, it just didn't make
And I
any
don't know if
sense.
they did that wanting people to go do some research. It's like, okay, well, hey, we're going to make people get more involved with
I,
the Star Wars universe. Because I mean, Ashlyn, when we all watched it together, and Braden doesn't really care about movies, and neither does Amanda. But Ashlyn looked at me and she's like, "Is that the same guy that got cut in half a few years ago?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's him." And I tried to, kind of like you, just give her the overview of
yeah,
what happened.
I kind
So
of figured it was, just in general, I kind of figured it was something to keep it open for a sequel. It seemed very open because her leaving and going off anyway seemed like it was very left open for a sequel.
yeah,
Which it
and
may
I
have
read that the guy
been,
who,
but
yeah, yeah, and the guy who played Han was very open to it. I don't know if the storyline never came together. I mean, are kind of getting far enough out now. I don't think they're probably going to do it. I mean, and part of the reason that's why that I think that Star Wars movie did so bad in the box office. I think it's one of the lowest grossing movies ever. I think people were kind of getting I think there was just too much. Before we started this podcast, we were just talking about how many movies from Star Wars that came out in that short time. And I think people were just kind of like, I mean, I don't get tired of Star Wars, but
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. But for just the general fan, I think it was like, okay, can we slow down?
Yeah.
Because I'm not, I have a real issue with movies nowadays of having to check all these boxes and people making movies to make movies. I want a good storyline.
Hmm.
And if that means let's have 3 or 4 years between Star Wars movies, hey, that's great
Yeah.
if it's going to mean you're giving me a good product.
Yeah.
But when you're putting 4 movies out in the span of what, 3 years or however what we were talking about,
This one was,
uh,
yeah, it was, you had the 15, 16, 17, and 18. So yeah, in 4 years you had four movies.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like to me, okay, let's kind of slow down. And like I said earlier, did this movie really need to be made in the first place? I don't know. It kind of explained a lot of stuff I didn't like, and I don't know your feeling on this. I didn't like how they explained how he came up with his last name. So just some imperial guy's going to come up with, okay, you don't have a last name. We'll just give you Solo. It seemed a little cheesy to me.
Yeah.
He got his blaster, and there's certain things they just tried to make sure they filled in all the little holes. And, I thought the connection, how he met Chewie and stuff, okay, I'm fine with some of that and everything, but I don't know. Some of it just, once again, some of the writing, it got a little long. Did you feel that it was draggy? Did you feel that they could have cut maybe 20 or 30 minutes off? Because I know when I originally saw it, I thought, okay, we're at the end, and then the next scene came, and then the next scene came. I thought they could have condensed it a little bit more.
Yeah,
But,
there was
you
some
know,
there was some where it could have, but at the same time, I didn't feel like it was too overly long. Um,
okay.
I mean, there's probably scenes that could have been cut down a little bit, like extra stuff that could have been cut down a little bit, but I didn't feel like it was too overt like
Okay.
some movies. But
Well, and then I did read something actually last week before we'd even I think before we even did review it, we did our one on the Sith, Revenge of the Sith, is that L3 is all about, okay, they've got a droid who's kind of out on her own trying to free everything.
mm-hmm.
And I was reading some reviews of people having a real issue that, okay, she's trying to free everyone, be, not, free everyone. And then all of a sudden they enslave her into the Millennium Falcon forever. And it's almost like, is that contradicting what she was really for? She's for freeing everybody,
Yeah,
and then it's like, okay, but we're gonna enslave you into the computer for the rest of your life. I don't know. And then other people are like, well, they're keeping her around. It was a weird relationship they kind of tried to do with Lando.
yeah,
I mean, he's, I did love his capes because he always loved his
yeah.
capes and all this and that. I mean, but the relationship between him and L3 was a little creepy,
It was a little weird.
almost.
Yeah.
It was a little weird. I mean,
Well,
they kind
and
of,
even L3 kind of made the like she made a joke about it. It one with Qi'ra or whatever. Like he's in love with me or whatever. Like she was making jokes about
yeah.
it at one point when they're in the cockpit of the Falcon going to that mining colony or whatever. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
like
And like I said, the lady who did her voice, the writing on that part was great. I
mhm.
mean, it really was and stuff. And like I said, overall, it's a fine movie. It's fun to watch. You know, I'm not gonna never watch it again, but it's not something that I would sit down just to watch over and over and over. And
Yeah.
it I just don't
I
I don't have strong feelings either way, in all
yeah.
honesty.
I
So
I don't either. It was it was fine. I'll probably watch it again at some point. I don't, it's not something that I despised and won't ever watch again. It's not something that I will sit down, like you said, and watch over and over again. I did notice, like I said, there was, I thought it was weird the way she kind of like, I thought it was weird the way she kind of just like broke at the end and like left him. I thought that was kind of weird the way she was kind of like in love with him and then all of a sudden just like left. I thought that was kind of odd about that. Um, But I thought I did like how they made Han shoot Beckett first, which was a big ordeal with the Han shooting first and all that kind of
Oh
stuff with
yeah,
George Lucas. I know that's a
yeah.
big controversy with those original movies, and I did think that was kind of funny. I personally kind of chuckled at that when I was sitting on my sofa, because I'm like, oh, they
Yeah.
made Han shoot first. What do you know? Um,
Yeah, well, and even Tobias said, "Good thing you killed me because I was going to kill you."
yeah,
So, I mean, yeah, that kind of took. I mean, I was surprised by it the first time I saw it and stuff, and it's like, okay, yeah. So, and that's exactly. I mean, there was a few things that tied back to some of the uniforms and some of the outfits and stuff, and how we knew Lando cheated the first time
hmm
when they were playing the card game and stuff, and then he got the card from him, and so it kind of did explain some of the stuff.
hmm
Some of it just had a little too, I don't know. I
I
really his last name is the biggest one. It's just
yeah,
like an Imperial Guards gives you your last name. That's I don't know. Couldn't you come up with something better?
I did
So
have one other question, and maybe it's just something I missed and I wasn't paying it to close enough attention, or maybe you noticed it. So, when you first see the Falcon in this, the
hmm
whole nose is fully done,
yeah,
and later in the movie, it's got that split in it, like it goes out
yeah.
and then comes back in. Is there what happened? Did it get knocked off in the
But what
Kessel Run or something?
wasn't yeah, during the Kessel Run it kind of got beat to hell.
I know. I noticed that. So did it just because it
That
was like a big chunk out of like it's that big square rectangle shaped
well,
chunk out of
no,
the
are you
middle.
talking about though where the pod where the
Oh, is that the
where
escape
they
pod?
that's the escape pod, I think is what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. I guess I
I
never
think
realized that was
that's
at the front
I
of the
think that's
ship.
where that I think that's where that slid in. I thought you were just talking about in general. I'm like, well, when they about got sucked into the gravity well, that's where your antenna goes. Because on the
Yeah.
original Millennium Falcon, the antenna is one shape, and then when they get a new one, it's a different shape. So that explains why, in
Okay.
that. But
I
yeah,
guess
I thought you were just talking about in general it
I
getting
didn't
beat to
realize that
crap.
that was where the escape pod was, but that would I guess that makes sense when they eject the escape pod that it would. It's kind of odd that it's at the front of the Falcon, but
That well, and there's probably got someone out there that's going to watch this and think I'm an idiot. I'm pretty sure that's where it's at. So
okay,
don't take that. But I
that would
don't know because I know
make a
exactly
little more
what you're
sense.
talking about
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Okay, that would
and
make
I
a
was
little
I
more
was
sense.
looking, yeah, and I really did enjoy the chase scenes when they were in the spaceships. I
hmm
didn't think the fighting scenes were as good. If that makes sense, that the chase scene could be
Yeah.
different from the actual fight scene. I had a little bit more issue with that. Um, I don't know what the crap that monster was supposed to be. I don't really
I
know
don't know.
what purpose that served. Other
Something to
than
get away
that, the
from.
gravity well wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how they jump to light speed and all this and that. And seeing Chewie sit down, I got great joy in seeing Chewie sit down in the Falcon,
Yeah.
in the seat the first time and everything. So, and he wasn't, the guy who played the young Han wasn't he didn't try to imitate or anything Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He kind of had his own thing. He played the cocky, cool type guy. I thought pretty good. He didn't go over the top. So, casting I thought was fine there and stuff. But
Alden
yeah, I thought Emily
Ehrenreich.
Clark's character
Ehrenreich.
is what is it?
Alden Ehrenreich. I think is how you something like that.
Okay. Yeah, something. And like I said, I think Emily Clark's character, she was too far involved and too high up in Crimson Dawn to she loved him, but if she went with him, she did. I mean, she had one choice. She had already pretty well sold her soul to this,
This is true.
and it was kind of like so. When you were saying, she played both sides or just letting him go and stuff, I still believe she had feelings for him. But it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I love him, but I'm gonna be chopped into pieces if I don't do what I'm told, more or less. So
This is true.
she had a little bit of the, mother of dragons come out in her a little bit there. She's got that dark side.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She just looks so weird in anything I see her now after being blonde. And
Yeah.
sorry, I keep going back to that, but it's just
I get it.
some people just get so typecast in,
Yep.
in shows.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people don't like to do TV shows or they don't want to do TV shows that run for multiple years because after that,
Yeah.
everyone just sees them as that. And that's more on me than her because she's I think, a great actress.
Yeah.
So it's not a knock on her. It's all in my head personally.
Hmm.
I just couldn't get past some of that.
Yeah.
So
The only besides we talked about the Kessel Run uh, trivia or whatever. The only other trivia that I found really interesting was that this is the first movie we talked about Chewbacca. This is the first movie that has Chewbacca as a main character, where
mhm.
he's actually a big character. So because of that, they had to make 10 different heads and 8 suits because of all the wear and tear that it was going to face being in this.
Mhm.
It's much of a role in this movie. So
Yeah, that's cool to know. Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, the guy that was playing him, I think it was the first time he'd ever played because, obviously the original guy had passed away and stuff, and he had got to the point he hadn't been playing Chewbacca for a while anyway, just because of his health
mhm.
and stuff. But and there was a couple comical scenes and stuff when he's asking, when Han asked him how he knows how to fly, and he's like, "You're 190 years old,
Yeah,
and well, you look good for your age," and
yeah.
then
I
the
thought that
one
was funny
scene that
too.
I have to admit I laughed at probably as much as anything is when when Han says, "Yeah, we got 30 fighters down in the Millennium Falcon.
And
All
it
I gotta
takes
do is
off.
snap my
Yeah.
fingers and then Lando takes off and stuff." So yeah, it was good. I mean, there was enough that I wasn't sitting there twiddling my thumbs bored, but like I said, I didn't really make a whole lot of notes because I didn't really feel strong either way. There's a
Yeah.
lot of good, a lot of things left to be desired, but overall it was a solid movie for a standalone. And of all people who could and did probably deserve it as much as I said did they need to make it, man, who doesn't love him?
Yeah.
And then them two together. I mean, yeah, one of my favorite all-time characters.
Yeah.
So.
I don't trying to think of anybody else. Han got his movie. Obi-Wan has his show. Boba Fett has a
Mhm.
show. Can you think of anyone else that you would think deserves their own movie from like the original trilogy?
Not really, because I mean, Leia's raised in a extremely rich kingdom. There's
Mm-hmm.
not much there. I mean, Luke would be boring as crap growing up on Tatooine,
Yeah.
in the middle of the desert. There wouldn't be much there. So no, I mean, really, out of your original, they've covered Vader and stuff.
Yeah. You've kind of
Yoda, you
got
couldn't
the
really do Yoda,
yeah.
and stuff. So out of your original stuff, no, I don't. You know, I have read some people talk about, could they go back and do something with Palpatine,
Mm-hmm.
about kind of a standalone, how he killed his mentor and, but I don't really think that would, I think they're doing okay with just doing some spin-offs and filling in some of those gaps in between the years
Mm-hmm.
like Rogue One does. But as far as a standalone, I don't know of any other, I mean, The Mandalorian's getting one, but that's all happened since the fact,
Yeah.
So, um, but you ask of the original trilogies, no, not really. I don't think anyone really stands out that people would be interested enough to make a story about.
Yeah.
So,
I think they're supposed. I had heard within the last 6 months or so that they were planning to make another not like movie series of Star Wars that is not on the Skywalker thing. So basically another
okay.
series that is entirely separate but in this universe. So that
Yeah.
should be interesting if they decide to do that and what it would be about. But
Yeah. Yeah. When George sold everything to Disney, I had mixed feelings. I mean, I know, obviously he's getting older. Disney had a lot of opportunities to take it in a lot of different directions. And I think it's been a little hit and miss. I've probably been more disappointed with the direction they've taken stuff on some stuff. I mean, but overall, I mean, there's so much that they could expand in the universe. And like
mhm.
I said, if you don't read a lot of the books and stuff like that, there's plot lines. But I just don't know for the general public whether there's going to be enough interest to do that.
Yeah.
People who love Star Wars, yeah, sorry about the dog. If you know, I just don't see that there's enough. To, I think they do fine on Disney Plus putting along those series. I just don't see that the movies themselves.
Yeah.
They need to stick with what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, where would
because like I
you?
said,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say like Andor. I don't know if you ever watched that series. I think we talked about that a little bit, but that feels a lot of stuff in there too, and the Mandalorian. So there's a lot of. I think that's the direction that Disney needs to stick with. I think their movies they need to stick with actual Star Wars. What you think of Star Wars movies,
Mm-hmm.
and any of if they want to follow any of these in more in depth characters, they need to do it with just a series.
Okay.
Personally, that's my
Yeah.
feeling. So.
Where would you rank this?
It's probably gonna be God, see, I keep putting everything like 4, 5, and 6 and pushing stuff down. Um, yeah, probably about. See, it's a tough one. Probably about seventh, seventh
Okay.
out of the ones that we were watching. Um, I could honestly, the Sith is the out of the ones we've reviewed well, so far. Revenge of the Sith is the highest one of the ones we've reviewed, and then probably Phantom, and then probably this one. And like I said, since I wasn't here for Attack of the Clones, but they're so far down there at the bottom that we won't even discuss them. So probably around seventh.
So this is ranked number 8 on Rotten Tomatoes with a 69%. The critics' comments are it's a flawed yet fun, fast paced space adventure that satisfies newcomers. Uh, yeah, satisfies newcomers that
Yeah,
will have.
and that's kind of I think that's the conclusion we kind of came to. It's not great. It's not
Yeah,
horrible. It's just a fun movie. I think you could probably sit down and not know a whole lot about Star Wars and actually just enjoy the movie.
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot there that you don't actually have to. You could walk into this movie and not really have a background of Star Wars, and I think
yeah.
enjoy the movie.
Because I don't think
So
I don't. Yeah, because you don't have to know who Han Solo is to to know anything about this. Like you don't have to know
yeah,
it. I mean, if you know who any of these characters are, it makes it a little bit different. But it you don't have to know anything to get anything out of this movie. It can just be a little romp through space
yeah,
and
yeah.
be
And I
fun.
think that's
So.
why the good part of it is it works fine for a standalone movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think it could have been really a great movie. I mean, you got two of the best characters from the original. They just, like I said, they just left some to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it was a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, this was 8th. It is right under Revenge of the Sith, which was 7th. So
okay, so I'm kind of a give or take a little bit
yeah.
with most people. So yeah,
But yeah, I think that is it for this week, folks. Next week we are going to watch Rogue One, also called Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, because apparently they need to make sure that you know that it's a Star Wars story, because that's what we got to do. So, we're gonna watch that next week before we get into the original trilogy after that, because that's what leads us right into A New Hope. So, Rogue One, don't forget to watch that and come and join us next week. And Doug, I will talk to you then.
all right, we'll see you, Kev.